Welcome to Wander Stories, a podcast bringing you stories from destinations around the world or across the street. This is your host, Susan Lanier Graham, publisher of the award-winning online travel magazine, WanderWithWonder.com. In Wander Stories, we go behind the scenes to share some of the wow moments we discover as we travel. My husband and I sometimes find the best stories as we travel the U.S. in our fifth wheel trailer. Other times, we might discover stories as we jet off to other locales. No matter the source or where we go, we love bringing you Wander Stories to help inspire your own travels. So pull up a chair, grab a glass of bubbles or your favorite beverage, and listen to this episode of Wander Stories. Welcome to a new season of Wander Stories. Since this is the first episode in a while, let me update you on my travel life. In December 2022, my husband Bill and I moved out of our home in Arizona and into a 37-foot fifth wheel travel trailer, and we have been traveling the western U.S. this year. Over the past year, we've explored national and state parks, walked along the beaches on Lake Superior and Puget Sound, and watched the sunset over the Pacific. We'll be exploring the eastern U.S. in 2024. So with each episode, I'll let you know where in the world is Susan. So today, I'm coming to you from Bakersfield, California. We're about 100 miles out of Los Angeles at the southern end of the San Joaquin Valley, and this is an agricultural hub in this part of the state. Bakersfield is also known for an electric guitar-driven subgenre of country music called the Bakersfield Sound, which was popular in the 1950s and 60s. For those of you who might be old enough to know who he is, or was, this was home to Buck Owens, and fellow country music star Merle Haggard grew up nearby in Oildale. More current, Bakersfield today is home to the Bakersfield-Kern County Wine Trail and the Bakersfield-Kern County Brewery Trail. Now, on to this week's episode. There is never a bad time for bubbles. So I adore sparkling wine, and I try to sample it wherever I visit. Whether it's champagne from France's Champagne region, a German sect, a British or American sparkling wine, a French Cremant, a Spanish Cava, or an Italian Prosecco, I love bubbles. But I grew up, like many of you probably did, thinking that bubbles, which we called champagne, was only for special occasions. And just a note that champagne is the term only for sparkling wine made in France's Champagne region. It's a protected term. A sparkling wine made in California or England or wherever is never a champagne. Even a sparkling wine made in other parts of France can't be called champagne. I'll drop a link in the show notes for a great guide I wrote to different kinds of sparkling wine and what makes sparkling wine so different from other types of wines. So back to that idea that you can only drink bubbles on a special occasion. That changed for me one day. It's been a little more than 15 years ago now. I was on a solo trip to England. After a few days exploring London, I made my way to the Berkshires, about an hour outside of the city, and stayed at the most amazing country inn, the Vineyard at Stockcross. This inn was originally a 19th century British hunting lodge. Now, we're talking a British hunting lodge, very elegant, not the American version where hunters go in a cabin with log walls to rough it. No, this elegant country estate was just beautiful. It actually sits just a few miles from Highclere Castle, which was made famous by Downton Abbey. And I did have a chance to tour it on this same trip. So after arriving at the Vineyard at Stockcross and enjoying tea while the staff prepared my room, I relaxed, anticipating my evening dinner, a 14-course wine-paired dinner. Yes, 14 courses of amazing food paired with exceptional wines. But it turns out it was what happened before dinner that really impacted me. I joined the hotel's manager, a Frenchman whose name I have long forgotten, seamlessly blended the best of England and France as he managed this hotel. And we sat down for an aperitif. He poured me a glass of Dom Perignon. For those unfamiliar with the history, Dom Perignon is an exceptional champagne dating back to the 17th century. Dom Pierre Perignon, a Benedictine monk, set out to make the best wine in the world. And many people believe he went on to do just that. Today, Dom Perignon continues to be the benchmark for exceptional champagnes. As I sat in this exquisite location, sipping on those beautiful fine bubbles, the manager told me he had words to live by for me. I leaned in, eager to hear the message that he would offer that sounded like it could change my life. Always remember, there is never a bad time for bubbles. As I laughed, contemplating his message, he explained that sparkling wine pairs with almost anything or is delightful for simply sipping. Now, that was a wonderful moment for me because I love bubbles. There is something almost magical about those little bubbles, and it makes me happy when I hear the pop of the cork and smell the lovely aroma of baking bread that comes from the yeast in the sparkling wine. I appreciate sparkling wines for so many reasons. The care and precision that go into making a sparkling wine are inspirational. Now, there are a couple of ways of making sparkling wine. Again, read the link in the notes for more details. But in short summary, there are two methods: method champenois, or the champagne method, and charmat, or the Italian method. In method champenois, a second fermentation occurs inside the bottle. Many of the champagne houses in France still turn the bottles by hand during this stage, and it's hundreds of bottles over many, many months. Very labor intensive process. Wines made in the Charmat method complete the second fermentation in a stainless steel tank or an oak barrel. Over the course of the past 15 years, I've had sparkling wines paired with almost everything. I love bubbles with potato chips. Yes, potato chips. They even serve potato chips during wine tastings at Veuve Clicquot in France. I love sparkling wine with a juicy ribeye steak. I once had an entire sparkling wine paired dinner at Delmonico Steakhouse in Las Vegas. Simply blew me away. And I think that needs to be an episode for a future Wander Stories. I enjoy Blanc de Blanc sparkling wines made from white grapes, usually Chardonnay. I adore Blanc de Noir sparkling wines made from the purple grapes, usually Pinot Noir. But I am a sucker for a good rosé sparkling wine. And no, these are not sweet wines. I know they're pink and they look pretty, but these are dry, crisp, filled with the aromas of yeast and the flavors of the grapes. Now, you can get fun sparkling wines for as little as $20 a bottle, which is a great way to sample different sparkling wines. A really good option in that price range is Gruet, made in the Method Champenois style in New Mexico. I also like Chandon, the U.S. bottled sparkling wine created by the French Moet and Chandon Champagne House. For more expensive sparkling wines, I absolutely enjoy, Taittinger, Veuve Clicquot, those champagnes that you see on the shelves. However, I often look for lesser known options, such as Colette and Drapier, both from Champagne. Sometimes I'll opt for a good Cremant from France, a nice mid-level priced sparkling wine. And I really enjoy Oregon sparkling wines. Many of these are made in the traditional method champenois using Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier grapes, the traditional grapes used in Champagne, France. I almost always keep a bottle of sparkling wine open in my refrigerator. You can keep it for 2 to 3 days with a good champagne stopper. And each evening, when I take that first sip, I close my eyes. For a moment, I'm back in the dining room in that English countryside manner. The crackling fireplace, I feel its warmth across the room, the tinkle of the fine china, and I hear the lilting French voice remind me there is never a bad time for bubbles. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Wander Stories. Join us next time when we share more stories from around the world or across the street. Until then, check out wanderwithwonder.com for more of our favorite travel destinations. And remember to check out the current show notes for links to give you more information on what we talked about today. Until next time, happy travels, and I hope you discover some of your own wow moments.